ahead and do your thing, man.
I appreciate it, and thank you very much for having me. So today I'm going to be talking about why on-chain privacy is so important, how it's progressed, and why it's worth fighting for. So I think a good place to start is why privacy is so important. So limiting government powers is the most well-known use case, but people often kind of misunderstand this. They think it's just authoritarian regimes, but it's also Western governments that engage in warfare essentially against whistleblowers and journalists and people that are trying to expose corruption and those type of things. But it's most obvious in kind of more surveillance-y states. So in China, what kind of begins as kind of trivial technology tends to evolve into more kind of dystopian stuff. So if you go to China and cross the road, jaywalk illegally, then your picture will get taken. They'll automatically bill you through your government ID, and it will appear on a sign which will kind of publicly shame you. And this facial recognition technology has been taken to and deployed in Hong Kong, where freedom fighters have been protesting, and it's being used by the CCP to crack down on those people. And so the Hong Kong protesters have turned to privacy tech, privacy messaging applications like Signal and Telegram to organize their protests. And with all of this kind of privacy tech, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, and I think Telegram is the best example of this. So within Telegram, you have Hong Kong freedom fighters organizing their protests, but you also have some of the most heinous criminals using Telegram as a place to organize and commit cybercrime and child exploitation and oftentimes terrorism and radicalization. And this leads to government crackdowns on privacy tech. So the founder of Telegram was arrested in Paris, and he was released, but I think they essentially struck a deal with the French authorities where they have to comply more with the emergency data requests that the police send. And the police, French police might be sending requests about, child exploitation, but you've also got Belarus and Kazakhstan and Romania and Poland and some of these more kind of edge cases, Moldova, these type of countries, which will kind of abuse these systems, and these companies are pressured into complying with their requests, essentially through force. But privacy isn't just a government-only issue. It spreads all the way from kind of the weaponization of personal data. If you look at whether you support it or not, like the media doxing members of the Doge team and publishing their information, and people digging through their histories, to doxing and harassment, all the way to kind of people being targeted for thefts based on the amount of money they have in their crypto wallet. It's a big trend in London and in France as well, with the recent Ledger guy that was kidnapped and had his fingers chopped off. So I think it will be interesting if we go through and have a look at kind of what companies gather what information on you and why you might want to avoid it. So, for example, Coinbase, if you sign up to Coinbase, at least in the UK, you go through a full KYC profile, their terms and conditions, essentially fingerprint everything you do on your browser, so it's incredibly trivial for them to match that to ad tracking data and get a ton of information on you. You can also on-chain see the flow of funds if you transfer out, but I'm going to run through, this is a bit of a silly example, but I'm going to demo some cool surveillance tech. So I set up an OpenSea account with this wallet. You can go and check it out on OpenSea if you can be bothered to type it in. And I set a profile picture. I set the username that I use everywhere. It's my Twitter as well. I linked my social media account. Obviously, most people don't do this, but you're leaving this kind of fingerprint wherever you go online with loads of different applications. And I'm going to show you some cool stuff you can do. So starting off with the username, what you can do is you can take any wallets, go onto OpenSea, and it will redirect you to their account. You can then pull a bunch of information out. You can pull down the picture I used as my profile picture. You've got my username, Natty Fried there. You can see all of this publicly available information. And then you can take this username and you can go to applications like Dhashed or other kind of breach data tools, which what they've done is they've gone out and essentially from stolen data, they've made a massive database that you can search against, and if you're reusing your name or like your username or email, you can really easily find data breaches. So if you search my username on Dhashed, all of the information that comes up, I don't click onto it because it's literally like my passwords and my home address and IP. But you can very easily go from like this username that you're utilizing in the crypto space that's linked to your wallet to a ton of personal information that you might not necessarily want or know is out there. Profile pictures, way cooler. I'll start this video. There's a bunch of tech out there. PimEyes is available to the public sector, but there's also government-only ones from like Clearview, which got sued by a bunch of human rights organizations. But essentially, you can upload a picture of anyone, anywhere, and what it will do is it will search all across the internet for using facial recognition to find where that same person exists. And you can see this is like a black and white picture of me that moderately looks like me. It's taken from like an article here of me standing in front of GCHQ looking rather ominous, but it also finds like ones where I have like bleach blonde hair and like from 10 years ago on some obscure mailing list. But you can see here, like it found this article which was, has a picture of me. But yeah, you can also see like stuff that I didn't even know was out there. Like here's a picture of me with bleach blonde hair, and it's just correlating. So anytime you're posting images, you can get some real spooky data on people, and you can see like it's quite far down this page because it was from my student days. But you can see here's me doing suspicious things at uni. And so this type of data is out there and very, very available. With wallet addresses, there's a ton of online tools which will look for where you have these accounts. You can also do similar stuff to Chainalysis or TRM or Crystal, which looks at flow of funds and can correlate wallets back together. And any social media accounts you've got linked, you're entrusting these social media sites with a lot of data, and they often do get breached. And like for example, most Twitter accounts, like you can easily find the email address with the Twitter account because there was a massive scrape during the transition to being Elon Musk's personal project. Yeah, so there's, when you find someone's Twitter account, you can, find out the companies. There's also some really cool tools where you can look at historic data of, what a Twitter account used to have in their bio, what the username used to be, because they're all tracking on ID. So, if people change this stuff, it's like logged forever. And you can find some really interesting modern accounts. Like there's a Twitter account called OSINT for Ukraine, which if you look at like the historic data, used to be an NFT pump and dump that was pro-Ukraine and maybe gave the funds, maybe didn't. Jury's out on that. But now it's like a very legitimate organization, and you can just see the evolution going through. The abuse of our personal data has led a lot of people towards wanting privacy on chain, and the journey of privacy has been a turbulent one, which they always are when you're kind of fighting for your rights. But it essentially began at Tornado Cash, which sprung up because Moloch DAO, run by Amin, who's over there, funded, and Vitalik funded this project. Essentially means that motivation was he wanted to pay people's payroll on chain, and similar to the Telegram story, it's a trade-off when it comes to privacy. And so when North Korea Lazarus Group hacked Axie Infinity, they dumped all of hundreds of millions of US dollars into Tornado Cash, and then Tornado Cash around this time they were already developing compliance tooling, but it was too late essentially, and developers got thrown in jail, and they're still fighting for their freedom, and you should donate to their cause. But Tornado Cash got sanctioned and essentially got, everybody thinks of it as a negative privacy, and it's blacklisted from a bunch of exchanges. So Tornado Cash was where the story kind of began, but there's been people that have been out there fighting, and a large part of the recent developments come from a paper that was written by Vitalik and Amin and a few other people around privacy pools, which is the idea that you can instead of correlating, you can get on-chain privacy, but instead of correlating a deposit to a withdrawal, you essentially say this withdrawal comes from this group of deposits which are known good. And so Railgun has taken some of these ideas. They were already quite a decent way down in their privacy journey, and so the implementation of it has flaws in that you can essentially never get removed from what's called the association set. So if you are a terrorist and you manage to not get flagged going into Railgun and get accepted onto the association set, you'll be there forever. Like there's no way to remove them, and everybody else's withdrawals will forever be associated with those illicit funds. And so privacy pools that comes from this paper and is backed by Vitalik and others is kind of the next evolution of this. And the idea is that you can relatively easily identify known good. If something is fairly obviously good, relying on the kind of industry standard of TRM, Chainalysis, Elliptic, those other people, you can flag something as good, and then when those flow of funds go into privacy pools, they get added to the association set after a period of time, because a lot of times these hacks, you don't want to be instantly approving funds. The laundered funds or those type of funds don't often get identified super quickly, or are really complex laundering, which we saw with the Bybit hack, where there's like thousands and thousands of wallets which were strung up. And then those funds in privacy pools, when you go to withdraw, you say, hey, this withdrawal comes from this long list of vetted and known good. And so you're getting on-chain privacy, but you're not having to give up or give away KYT information, and you're not risking that your funds are going to be intertwined with terrorists. We've been working on this for a decent period of time. It is now live on testnet. It's on testnet.privacypools.com. You should go give it a test, see if you get accepted or declined. It's not a perfect system, but if you get declined, be sure to complain on Twitter. And the idea is that everybody deserves privacy on-chain and off-chain, and so we're kind of trying to fight towards that mission. If you want to, this is just on testnet, but for the mainnet launch, if you want to be added to the association set, so you want to be included as known good, you can come up to me after, or Amin or someone from the Oxbow team, tell us how you honestly feel about North Korea, and then we'll make a decision on whether or not we add you to the whitelist. But yeah, this is our project, and this is kind of the mission behind it, and I hope you guys found this talk interesting.